it will be closed because the four attorneys, oh, and I should say Carol Harris, who's the other attorney representing 170, dealing with the parking lot. All four attorneys have been charged with a 6-page summary to respond to the issue of the definition of a zoning lot versus tax lot. And that is due, I think, the week before the next hearing, which will be on July 17th, which is very depressing. But we need everyone here to turn out. Even though you can't fit in the room, the message was loud and clear that there is no neighborhood support for this project. And if you have any questions, come see me afterwards. But I think
due date for the memos in the next hearing?
They said June 27th, if I remember correctly, and I can verify that in my notes. And that's the questions for primarily the attorneys, but I think if we have other issues, they would be receptive. I have to tell you, there is humor in these horrendous meetings because you have to listen so hard. One of the commissioner's initials is DOB, and one of the speakers from Landmark West wanted to say, on one hand, the DOB, meaning the architect, the lawyer for the DOB, and then he said, on the other hand, the DOB. And it turns out, Dara Otley Brown's nickname is actually DOB. Oh, no. So we struck a chord. So anyway, all I can say is thanks to Olive Municipal Art, and that's the Committee for Sound Environmental Development. She's a trooper. She was there in the front row. She also made a very passionate plea. Bob Rautenbush, who the vice chair of the same committee, MAS was represented. So suddenly, I think maybe the tide will turn because we have, it's not just the NIMBYs, as the attorneys put it, who are against us, but I think the BSA is understanding it's all of New York that is going to be affected by this because this sets precedent. So encourage you to keep reading, participate, and if you're free on the 17th, please attend. The times will be posted, I believe, the Thursday before the hearing. Thank you.
I think they'd like to hold the hearings on the days that we have our full board meeting, which reminded me that because July 3rd is the first Tuesday in July, and it's also the day before July 4th, the board voted not to meet that night, so we are meeting on Tuesday the 17th of July. And we have sent a note out, but we will keep sending notes out. I also, Andrew and I this morning were with DOT, and we're happy to announce that DOT has finally agreed after gazillion meetings to reduce the crossing time at the corner of 65th Street and Columbus on the east side from 60 seconds to 30 seconds, and to have a red arrow so that cars will not be turning while pedestrians are crossing, and hopefully pedestrians will not cross when the cars have the green in them.
It's only 3 years trying to get that done.
So we now are going to have the election for co-secretary. The co-secretary, according to our bylaws, if a co-secretary steps down, a new co-secretary is elected at the next full board meeting and takes office immediately, if not sooner. So you all have a voting sheet. So here's the deal. Joshua Cohn is going to be chair of the election committee, helped by Sue Rabani and Louisa Craddock as his committee members. So I want you all to take out your voting sheet, and on this page that's mostly white, print your name at the top. So everybody can do that now. Print clearly. Okay. Then on the inside, you'll see there's blank spots. So we're going to nominate a secretary, one or more people for secretary. You're going to fill them in. Then there's a place to vote, and then you sign your name where it says random one. So I'm now going to call Joshua up to take over.
Hi. We're going to any nominations for secretary. It'll be from now until November 1st. Mark?
I nominate Lolita Farron.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I think we need a second.
I second the nomination for Lolita Farm for the position of home secretary.
Any other seconds? Any other nominations? No? Great.
Nominations are closed. So you need to fill out, in order for Louise to become co-secretary, she needs to have a majority of the votes of the people present. So if everyone will please vote, and then the elections committee will collect the ballots.
It's here.
F-E-R-I-N.
Is it 1 R or 2?
Two R's, sorry about that, 2 R's, F-E-R-R-I-N.
When you're done, please fold it in half with your name on the outside and the vote on the inside. Thank you.
Yes, sign them round one.
Hopefully it's out.
All right, we are now going to go into our session with the elected. So I call on Daisy Moore from New York State Senator's Office.
Hello, my name is Daisy Moore. I'm a community liaison for New York State Senator Serrano's office. I'm sorry that I'm giving the public my back. So today I bought our June monthly report, and it highlights what the senator's been up to. It has some legislative updates as well as our full June calendar. Just in terms of legislation, I just wanted to announce that the senator's 2 bills passed the Senate, and it's 2 bills regarding parks. It's S3053, which prohibits littering on state parks, and S3052, which requires parks and playgrounds to collect recycling. So our office is located in East Harlem, but we do have a small chunk of the Upper West Side. So our Upper West Side mobile hours are every Thursday. So if someone has any questions, concerns, or comments, you can come visit a representative either at a library or a senior center on the Upper West Side. And so the next date is June 7th. We're going to be at JASA, which is 120 West 76th Street from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Daisy, did those bills actually pass the Senate?
Yes, they did.
Next is Gabby Dan from the Mayor's Community Affairs Office, followed by Rebecca Crittman from Senator Hartman's office.
Thanks.
Hi everyone, it's nice to see you all. I'm Gabby Genoa from the Mayor's Community Affairs Unit. I just have a couple of brief announcements tonight that I think you guys would be interested. One is, as you probably have seen in the news, starting on the day after the last day of school, cars will be prohibited from traveling on the Central Park South Loop, meaning Central Park is permanently car-free, so we hope that you enjoy it this summer with your family and friends. And secondly, we are calling on the state legislature to pass the speed camera program before the end of the session. These are cameras that will be installed near school zones to watch the speeding that could be happening around schools that could seriously endanger children, pedestrians, students, school staff, all kinds of New Yorkers who walk around our schools. And we're hoping to add an additional 150 cameras in these zones if the law is passed, and one of those zones would be near the MLK Educational Campus in this board. So if you're interested in advocacy and pushing for that bill, please let me know.
Thank you so much. Rebecca Crittman from Senator Hartman's office, followed by Alec Militek from Assemblymember Gottlieb's office.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Crittman from Senator Brad Hoyland's office. Things are fairly bizarre in the state Senate right now. There's a 31-31 deadlock. Some of you might have seen because one of the Republican senators actually left for naval service. But we're still introducing and pushing our legislation. Senator Hoyland just put forth a package of housing bills to address some of the dangerous and exploitative practices we see from landlords in New York. One of the bills calls on the New York City Department of Buildings to apply greater scrutiny to landlord applications for renovation. One requires landlords who have forced rent-regulated tenants from their homes to revert the same number of units back to rent-regulated status. One makes it a felony to submit a building application falsely claiming no tenants are living in an occupied property. Thank you. And one orders the state to study and investigate predatory equity and its lending practices to landlords who take loans that they can't afford and then are basically forced to make higher rent and therefore push out rent-regulated tenants. So we're very excited about those bills. We know it's a priority for our constituents. We also have a bill that we just introduced to protect consumers from unwanted robocalls. This is probably the issue we actually get the most calls about to our office. People, seniors specifically, are being scammed by folks who are calling them. It's annoying, I get them. Our bill would prohibit robocalling without consent and require telephone companies to offer consumers free tools on both landlines and cell phones to stop unwanted robocalls. And that's it from us. I'll be hanging around further if anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much. Next is Alec Militant from Assemblymember Gottlieb's office, followed by Jennifer Greer from Public Advocate Tish James.
Good evening, everyone. So Andy Byford recently released his Fast Forward plan. Assemblymember Gottlieb vehemently supports it. And it is estimated to cost $19 billion, but the Assemblymember will fight to ensure that it is fully funded. Also, this Saturday, if anybody is looking for a new best friend, there are free pet adoptions in competition. It is happening this Saturday from 12 to 4 at Hell's Kitchen Flea Market, 523 9th Avenue, between 39th and 40th Street. Thank you.
Next is Jennifer Greer.
Good evening, everyone. Jennifer Greer from the Public Advocate Tish James office. There's two events that I wanted to flag for the board, and everybody's invited. The first one is this Saturday at the Bloomingdale Family Day. We're co-sponsoring a paper shredding event. So if you have anything that you need to get shredded, please come by. We're going to be there from 12 to 4 at 110th Street and Columbus Avenue. I have flyers in the back. And the second event is, we've been doing an annual Pride event. This is the first time I believe we're doing it in Manhattan. It's on the 11th. It's going to be at the High Line from 6 to 8. So if anybody would like to come, please feel free to RSVP with me. My number is 212-669-2179. And the flyers for that will be on the table as well. Thank you.
The date for the Pride event is?
Sorry?
The date for the Pride event?
June 11th, Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Lori from Speaker Corey Johnson's office, followed by Brennan Ward from State Senator Marisol Alcantara's office.
Hi, I'm the community liaison for Speaker Corey Johnson's office. I just want to quickly announce the participatory budgeting winners because they are all district-wide. We have tree guards, real-time rider information at bus stops, technology upgrades for every library in District 3, and technology upgrade for public schools in need. I also want to announce that there was a major haul of lead loss. It's a groundbreaking effort to eliminate childhood lead poisoning in the 5 boroughs of the City Council this month introduced a package of legislation that will strengthen, expand, and establish new protections of the city lead laws. The proposal is the largest single overhaul of lead laws in 14 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Brennan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brendan Ward. I'm from State Senator Marisol Alcantara's office. I wanted to let you know about, we have a budget mailer that we have in the back there, just detailing what was in the budget that the senator fought for on labor, education, and a host of other issues. We have one upcoming event that I want to mention, Immigration Rights Forum, 2 separate days, one Wednesday, June 13th, one June 16th, which is a Saturday. There's one piece of legislation we wanted to mention. So on the topic of immigration, we know the federal government has been doing everything it can to keep people out. So the senator has a bill called the one-day bill. This changes the maximum penalty for a misdemeanor from 365 days to 364. At 365, they can expel even legal residents, people who have been here, who've done the process, and so we want to change that just so there's one less way that the president can harass immigrant communities. Thank you.
Diane, I just see Diana Howard from Borough President Dale Brewer's office. We're pleased you're here.
Hello, everybody. A few things from the office. Tomorrow's the annual iftar dinner. It's going to be 100 College on the east side of 68th Street. It starts at 6:30. The doors will open and the program will begin at 7:30. The Fresh Foods for Senior program will be kicking off again this June 15th. You can check in with either Helen's office or Cora's office, depending on where you live in your neighborhood, to get the specifics for that. In the new cohort of community board members, 323 people were appointed over the 12 community boards this session. The reception is going to be held at the American Museum of Natural History on the 19th. You can RSVP through the office. Some other initiatives from the office, Data NYC. We have some data folks in our office that have been working over the course of about 2 years. We're designing tools, digital tools, so that community board members and members of the public can access open data law to better be informed about things going on in their community and make more informed decisions with community initiatives. Some events that are happening, the Magic Painting Gallery down at the office of 1 Central Street, the 19th floor, will be honoring 5 women artists. This year is going to be June 7th, so please come out 6 to 8. We are also having a day of action for the summer meals. This is the program that the city schools put on where they allow for school-age children to come and give free lunch and breakfast at different sites. It's a very big initiative, so we do ask for as many volunteers as possible. We stand out very early in the morning at schools and train stations, handing out pieces of paper with this information. Thank you.
So how do folks, do you sign up to volunteer for that? How does it work?
For the day of action, yes, there's a link on the website. You can do it. If you want to contact me to make it easier, that's also fine.
Hi, how's the charter revision issue going?
There's going to be an event that will continue to be rescheduled, so I'll make sure that you have that information. No worries. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joshua, do we have the election results?
Yes, we do, by unanimous. Congratulations, Elisa.
We are prepared to work, just in case. Next is Aldo Ponderosa from Assemblymember Linda Roosevelt's office.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Just a few legislative updates tonight and a couple of community updates too. A trio of housing bills passed the Assembly this past month that have passed before, but hopefully will pass the Senate soon. These were the open bill, which would prevent landlords from deregulating their apartments when they become vacant, using that 20% vacancy bonus. This was also the Linda's bill A268, which would make it fairer between rent-controlled and rent-stabilized tenants with their rent increases, because for years, as you know, rent-controlled tenants have been handed much larger increases than rent-stabilized tenants. And the last one was the 4-year look-back period that this community board discussed. On the community side of things, just a couple of quick updates. Linda hosted the Be Kind to Animals contest a couple of weeks ago that we saw more participants from ever from our district schools, and this is a contest that teaches children about the importance of being kind to animals. And then last but not least, I know there's been a lot of aggravation in the community over the spot and incessant barking on West 72nd from this location. So we are working with the owners to make sure that stops, and Linda has written a letter, and that is available back there along with our June community board update. Thank you.
We're now going into our public session, and our first speaker is going to, oops, I see our council member, Mark Levine. We're going to have him speak first, and then we'll go into public session.
to speak.
Good evening, everybody. Hello, I'm Mark Levine, your city council member. Very nice to have the chance to say hello to you and briefly update you on some of the great things we're doing. I want to tell you about a very successful participatory budgeting that we had this year with a number of winning projects right here in CB7, including $200,000 for technology upgrades at Bloomingdale Library. Absolutely, when you can applaud for that. $200,000 for computers at MS 54, a school very much in the news these days, and $60,000 for countdown clocks on bus stops up and down Broadway, which we are very, very excited about. I think many of you know that I have the pleasure now this term of chairing the City Council's Health Committee, and we are working very, very hard to tackle the opioid epidemic, which is now taking more lives in New York City. 3 people die a day in New York City from overdose. That's more people than we lose from homicides, suicides, and car crashes combined. So this is, unfortunately, a deadly serious crisis. And we are attacking it on many fronts. This is a crisis in large part created by pharmaceutical companies who are pushing out opioid prescriptions without telling the truth about the risks and overstating the benefits. And so New York City has joined the lawsuit together with 200 other cities and localities around the country for damages to the pharmaceutical companies, built on a very successful lawsuit against the tobacco industry that many of you know about, was so successful in years past. We have also moved forward on a proposal which is controversial, but one which I fully support, which is the opening of a safe injection facility. There are 2 identified in Manhattan, neither in this community board, but these are locations where people under supervision can self-inject. And it may sound like a radical idea, but it's been done around the world since the 1970s, not in the United States. And there's never been a single fatality in one of these facilities, over 100 around the world. This is first and foremost about saving lives. And there are 2 proposed in Manhattan, one, I guess, in the East 30s, and one on 181st Street in Washington Heights. Which I'm happy to share more with you about if you're interested. And then the last thing I'll update you on, because I know it's been very much on your mind, not exactly late breaking news, but I'm very thrilled that we approved a rezoning on 108th Street that will allow for the construction of 280 new affordable homes for low-income families from the West Side. Thank you. Thank you all for starting that applause. Around the West Side and beyond, with a heck of a lot of amenities for the surrounding neighborhood, including a brand new playing field, artificial turf playing field for MS54. That's a $2 million investment in something that the school community has been pushing for many, many years, including some wonderful upgrades to the Avila's playground across the street. Thank you, Dan Cohen, which is a wonderful little, I don't know if you call it a pocket playground, but a mid-block playground. It's going to get a new public bathroom with Parks Department staff member attending the bathroom and doing educational activities. It's also going to get the portion of the park is going to be reconstructed with a sitting area for adults, since it's still going to be seniors who are largely living in the new building. We're so excited about this win, and I know this community board was deeply, deeply, deeply involved. And I want to thank you for your leadership on that and your partnership on that, and doing something really, really impactful for people who are in need here in CB7. So I'm going to pause there because I know you have a long night ahead. If appropriate to take questions, I'm happy to. If you're short on time, I'm also happy to pass the mic. Yes, Matt.
I don't know, okay?
I can hear you great, yes.
As you well know, I'm the chair of the Task Force on Public Housing, and we're having a forum on the 30th on budget. We're looking for you, if you could come and talk about the finances of 19.
I would love to. We'll connect afterwards so I get the time and place, but we'd love to be there. Thank you for inviting me. All right. Thank you very much. Have a great night, everybody.
Did you want to speak? So we're now going into our public, thank you so much, Councilmember. We're now going into public session. Our first speaker is Lynn Armstrong, who we're giving an extra 30 seconds to because she's speaking on two important topics.
Thank you. Lynn Armstrong here. First topic is an update on the Jewish home. For the new members, that's a project that has been in the offing for approximately 8 years, and in which this community board, bless it, has taken a very thoughtful, constructive role, testifying in all the environmental and other questions. For the update, I just want to mention a couple of things. The zoning case is on the uses of open, who may use the open space on the zoning lot, which also, as Paige was mentioning in her zoning lot question, is one that affects not just us, but many people in the city. And I'll keep reporting to you on the status of that. I reported in January that the Environmental Protection Agency is, I won't say under siege, but demanded by the circuit court, by the court in California, to update the lead in dust standards. It's been sitting on it for 7 years. It's still under consideration. I will give to Mark for the file the latest update from EPA on what the status of that is. But it has led us to raise questions about lead standards in the state as well, because the state uses the federal standards. And that is under consideration. I'll move to the history group now. The Bloomingdale Neighborhood History Group, which was founded about 18 years ago, has had monthly programs. The art of and music of the neighborhood change, medicine and health in the neighborhood. You may remember we did a program on the community board history, which developed into a history of the community boards, which is on, I believe, on Gail Brewer's website, and perhaps John has got it on yours. And the latest one on June 26th is on the environment, the ecology of the park, of Central Park, which, as you probably know, they are trying to return to, or at least taking into consideration, much of the original ecology and testing. And Regina Alvarez, who's been in charge of the woodlands for the Central Park Conservancy, will be the speaker. All welcome, and the flyers are on the table in the back. Thank you.
Wait, what's the name of the speaker for the
name of the speaker? Regina. Mark, I'll give you the flyer.
Okay, thanks.
Tomorrow, as some of you may know, is the annual Environmental Protection Agency conference on Region 2, which is our region, New Jersey and New York. Is anybody going? Okay, I'll report back. I'm going.
Our next speaker, we'll have 1 minute, will be Willie Roundfish, followed by Christopher Roundfish.
Just a quick update on the AMH litigation. Defenders has joined us in support of our lawsuits. Basically, we're just asking them to go through UHERP, which I know they think that they set aside the entire park. Ultimately, I think it'll be good for the community, and no one's really trying to stop and build. It's more accountability for many concerns we have. On 200 Amsterdam, the name of the judge, Mark, is W. Frank Perry. I just want to give a special thank you to Noah Rosenbaum, who did a fantastic job and has been going above and beyond, getting all the signatures of those council people to be able to stand up there and say that you've got the support of the majority of council members when you're talking about a land use issue. It's important as separating the idea of gerrymandered tax lots from zoning lots and what a terrible public policy is. In fact, just this morning, the head of the Department of Buildings, Chandler, came out and said how important it was that they review this and change this policy. So that's great to have that backing you up when you go into those hearings. Also, thank you to Landmark West. I think we forgot to mention that Sean gave outstanding remarks. Also, my friends are here and they're going to ask for an update on the dog one, and I fully support that. Elaine is the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chris Giordano, followed by Antonio.
Hi, Chris Giordano here on behalf of the West 65th and 66th Streets Block Association. Many of our members were at the ESA hearing today and energized particularly by Mark's comments. And we see ourselves as up next because 50 West 66 construction of a 775-foot proposed too tall is, I guess, up next. And so we're eager for your guidance and support. 3 months ago, this resolution was passed here, and I believe with the hopeful intention of it being circulated around all the borough boards.
It's sent to every other Manhattan borough board.
Great. So thank you for that. We'll see the Transportation Committee next week about the bike corral in front of Chun-Li, and thank you for pushing forward with DOT getting that bike fixed at 65th Street. Thanks so much.
Next is Dan Cohn, followed by HB Shore.
Thank you. So to our international visitors, Shalom Chaverim, Naimo. I bring greetings from Community Board 9, although Community Board 7 was the first board I served on. Never forget your first board. For those of you who have the notices, the green flyers that Anton passed around about the Family Days, also Valley Restoration Local Development Corporation has our street fair right next door. So it's a further incentive to volunteer, as Roberta was saying, at the Family Days. You can also then get all of your funnel cakes and tube socks you need. And then the following Saturday, which is Saturday the 16th, I put some of these very pretty posters in the back, is It's My Park Day. And out of Vilas, Councilman Mark Levine was extremely helpful in securing us a park equity grant, which gave us enough money to pay for a fabulous day. We're going to have a puppet show, a bilingual puppet show. We'll have t-shirts and refreshments, and there'll be lots of activities and face painting for kids. So anybody, kids or kids at heart, please join us on Saturday the 16th. I see it. It says stop, 1 to 3 p.m. Last thing to just say before I go is that I'd like to talk to the Transportation Committee about a transportation overlay at 110th Street on Broadway.
We'll do that offline.
We'll do it offline. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. HB Schroer, followed by Hillary Wallace.
Good evening. My name is H.B. Schroer. I'm a veteran of World War II. When I travel on the transit system, I get a discount. Not because I'm a veteran, but because I'm an old man. And when I'm trying to change that, I formed a consumer advocacy group called You and Me Become We. And what we are trying to do is to get the MTA to give to all veterans the same discount as they give to seniors. In order to get this, I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but veterans pay full fare every day, including Memorial Day, Veterans Day. For 100 years, veterans have been overlooked, and it's time that we raise our voice. We need you out there supporting it. Now, we've gotten the support of the American Legion, college students who are veterans have supported us, and the city council, for the first time in 100 years, has put as part of the Fair Fare initiative to give college veterans a discount.
He's asking for better.
Now, that sounds great, but 95% of the veterans are going to be without, not getting a discount. In addition to that, when the college veterans leave college, they lose that discount.
Thank you so much.
One other thing what I'd like to have the board do is, I want to thank everyone for signing the petition. I would like the board to send out the petition and a notification of what we're doing. I thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Hillary Wallace. Ava Evans.
Hi, I'm Hillary Wallace. I'm hoping that you can help me and assist me because I'm not sure where to turn anymore. I live on 82nd Street between Columbus and Amsterdam. And since I've lived there, we've had barely any street cleaning. And it's because we live on a precinct street, which is great. I love having the police department. I feel safe and confident that they're there, but we don't have street cleaning. And it's because they don't want to move their cars and they don't want to deal with moving the cars. We have street cleaning signs up there. And I see the street cleaning people come by, but no one moves their cars because they won't be ticketed. The streets are filthy, there's rats, and it's disgusting. Our whole community is so upset, and we don't know what to do, and I don't know who to turn to. Everyone on our block is really upset, and we don't know who to turn to. Who do I turn to?
All right, Captain is here from the 20th precinct, and he is going to talk to you.
Yeah, it's actually like, there's some legitimacy to this. First, when they say they don't move their cars, we move our cars. We have a guy out there twice a week moving all the police officers' cars. Joe Reale, I know you came to a previous council meeting with Nick Terry, and they told you you will see our cars move.
But the issue is, there's street cleaning signs that say certain days. You guys do it on different days, but then you have the people on the street going to the people in the buildings asking them to do it. It's not consistent. What needs to happen is that we need to go and the street signs need to be consistent to what the police department is doing in the streets. It's not fair to us.
We will discuss it with the commander, and we will come up with a better schedule.
That would be really great to the people who live on the block.
Because legitimately, even sometimes when we have it completely cleared, it's getting better and better and better. But even when we have it completely cleared, we have scheduled sanitation, sometimes they have come. So we're building a good relationship with them. There's some legitimacy, like sometimes like I came down the street and it was dirty. We called to make sure they'd be there for the next scheduled cleaning. It's more and more residents are moving their cars from when we started this.
But it's not what the sign says.
It's not what the sign says.
You guys put them on the trees when it's consistent for what you're doing.
We paper the block with signs telling
But that doesn't work. It needs to be what the sign says.
It can't be for operational reasons. That's an offline discussion that I can have.
We can set up something with the
We
commander.
can change the signs.
We have a new commander who's been incredibly responsible to all of our needs. So
that would be great for our block.
We'll be glad to take your name and get arranged for you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Ava Evans, followed by Elaine Buxton.
Sure.
Hello, and thank you for your time today. My name is Ava Evans. I'm here today regarding affordable housing. Proposal is about continued service to the community in regards to affordable housing. Our plan is to provide affordable housing on a small scale, 25 to 30 units of studio and one-bedroom apartments. The units will provide affordable housing for seniors and young adults aging out of the foster care system. These are the people that we must take care of, the elderly and the youth. It's our hope that the community will find our proposal acceptable as we are a non-profit entity. We are working with architects to bring about a suitable proposal to present to Community Board 7, hopefully by the next meeting. Our proposal will include community space and a computer room to serve the neighborhood. So many of our elderly do not know how to use a computer. Well, they are always told to go there and look. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a location in mind?
Yes. YMCA building or what else if any are sitting?
The old Grosvenor House?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The name of my organization is Songs of Solomon, Numa Ministries. Numa Ministries, Songs
I
of
have
Yes.
TNEUMA for anybody who's taking that.
Yes.
Okay. Our next speaker is Elaine Boxer, followed by David Sturck.
Hi, I'm here about the Bulk Food Star Run renovation, as Bill Raudenbush mentioned earlier. I want to thank him for his words of support. There's a really great plan that was approved by this board, and I thank you very much for that and the work of Helen and Clary in getting that done. You were told that there's an 80-point checklist, and we're going to be working down that list, and then come spring, there would be work starting with all the great contractors that were chosen. However, it's June 1st, so we're wondering what is the status of the Bowman's Dog Run renovation?
I don't know the answer, but I'm actually trying to keep signing on a number of questions. I'll add that to the list. And call me in a couple of days, send me an email, and if I can get an answer.
And if there's anything the community can do to help, please let us know. We can use the bulletin boards in the dog run. And I'd also like to ask a follow-up question, which was, in the meantime, they mentioned that we would get a truckload of screening pebbles, and that also has not happened, and it's absolutely a swamp every time it rains. So is there anything we
I
can?
remember that discussion. I was specifically asked about that too. I remember at our committee meeting first, it sounded like, oh, no problem, great idea, but then like 5 minutes later, well, I don't know. So I'll see what I can find out.
Thanks, I'll make sure you have my email.
Next is David Sturck, followed by Peter Arnson.
I'm actually here for the same reason as Elaine and also Bill's comments regarding the dog run there. I guess, don't really need to add to what Elaine said, but I will express a little frustration over the fact that, there are a lot of people that use that run, and as she mentioned, it's a swamp. It's been terrible for the last couple of months. We've had a lot of rain, and it's just been, practically, people still use it, but, with this mosquito season coming up, it's a real problem and needs to be dealt with. So hopefully the work can get started soon. Thank you.
Hi, Peter Arnson with the Columbus Amsterdam bid. On the side table over there is a June events calendar for north of 96th Street. And some of the events you've already heard about. One of the things coming up though is tomorrow evening, a walking tour of the neighborhood, and you can find it there. There's also the Build a Block meeting coming up on the 13th of June for our neighborhood. That's with the police precinct and the community police. There is also Make Music New York coming up. Lynn Armstrong had mentioned the Central Park talk. And this Saturday is our Family Days, which will be between 106 and 110. You already heard about the shredding truck, but there's also music with a group called Casa Mantequilla, and their ukuleles, accordions and ukuleles, art projects, a variety of things. The Learn to Ride a Bicycle is already full, so that's not available any longer. But anyway, come on in. Those are on the side.
Peter, the Build a Block event, you didn't give me a time or a location.
You're right. Here's the building. Yes. And that's an extension of the street fair of the Valley Inspiration.
So we are now heading into our business session. This is the only microphone that seems to reach, so I'll be walking back and forth with it. We start with transportation.
Thanks. We have two resolutions. The first is the disapproval of an application for a newsstand on the northeast corner of 79th and Broadway. We heard, and they're here this evening, testimony from the owner of a news store. at the southeast corner of Broadway and 79th Street, as well as a newsstand operator on the northwest corner of 79th and Broadway. We asked the applicant to give us another possible location, and they wouldn't lose a month. We said we would caucus prior to this meeting and hold a separate transportation committee meeting just for their new location, and we did not hear back from them. So on the docket tonight is a resolution of disapproval without prejudice. Are there any questions?
Sorry. Does the resolution say without prejudice? Because it should just say with disapproval.
It does say just disapproval.
Great, thank you.
So why is it without prejudice?
Because if they come back with another location, we're happy to assist them. We're a prejudice-free committee. Question is called.
All those in favor, please raise your hands. We got 32. Hands down. Anybody opposed? One. Anybody abstaining? I think it's everybody. Anybody abstaining? Anybody else will vote? Resolution carries 32 to 1 to 0 to 0.
Thanks. Our last resolution is our yearly approval of the American Museum of Natural History's Manhattan End celebration, which this year, the second day of which, the first day of which was last week, and it was not bad. It was decent weather. I hope July 12th is equally nice for the museum. It's a great celebration of when the setting sun lines up with Manhattan's east-west street grid. Are there any questions? Question is called.
All those in favor? Got 32, I think that's everybody, but hands down. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Anybody ineligible? The resolution carries 32 to 0 to 0 to 0.
I just want to test this. Is there a way that you turn the light down a little bit? Because I think it's very hard to see the slide.
It's pretty
No,
there's no technical.
hello? There we go. Oops, sorry. Okay, so this first application is at 381 West End Avenue. We have somebody who has, a neighbor who wants to speak after I present it for a minute. But this is a historic building. I hope you guys can see it. Jay, can you do it? Okay. So this is a building at the corner of 78th Street, 78th Street and West End Avenue. And it's a building that has a bunch of beautiful architectural detail, but in the 50s got renovated and some major changes were done. And the gist of the proposal is major restoration work and a rooftop addition and some modifications to the sides. Can you go to the next slide, please? So I'm gonna have to look at my slides because I can't read these well. So up here are historic tax photos from the 40s, and down below are the existing conditions. And there are a number of changes that were made to the building, and the proposals to put things back the way they were. So let's go to the next slide, Jay. Okay, so this is a proposal for what in drawing form, the proposal is to restore in wood a beautiful bay window, to modify windows, and later on in the presentation I'll show you what's there now, but to modify the windows to put them back to their original sign configuration. And on West End Avenue, there's an arch top window that had been converted to a rectangular top window, and so again the proposal is to put it back. There is brick from the 50s renovation as well as from the original that they're going to use to patch things in. It's a very sensitive, extensive renovation. The rooftop is going to be, the slate roof is old and in disrepair. They're going to replace it with a new rubber roof that is actually a heavy-duty rubber that simulates and it replicates the pattern of the roof shingles. Let's go to the next one. So this is now the other piece of the application, the rooftop addition. And as you can see from the last slide, there's a steep mansard roof. And these are a model of the small rooftop addition. And we're looking at it as if we were in the donut. So this is the massing of the small addition, and it is minimally visible from distant, down from West End Avenue and from one of the side streets. A little bit of the top is visible, but it is designed to fit behind the mansard as much as possible and use materials that actually blend in visibly with the sort of backdrop. So the roof is not black like the other roof of the main building, but rather is a beige color that blends in more with the background vista. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. Okay, so that's a section. Oh, this is this is the side facades. And this is on the left is the existing conditions, which you see very erratic shaped windows. And the proposal is to put a few more windows in, but regularize the pattern. And this is partially visible from the side street because it's an alleyway off of 78th Street. And up at the top you can see, but it's actually set back, and I don't believe from that angle you can see the rooftop addition that is tucked behind the turret. Next one, please. Okay, so this is a comparison of the proposed and the existing. And so on the left, you'll see that at the far left, I'm sorry, I'm not technically. Is this working? There we go. Over here, you can see that this is two rectangular windows. Originally, it was a wooden bay, and they're putting that back. If you look at the size of the windows on the corner turret, they actually were widened from the original, from looking at the earlier photos, and they're putting those narrower proportions back. Let's go to the next. And again, on West End Avenue, this window, they're restoring the circular shape. You can see the configuration of the windows is being changed. And another important aspect to this renovation is it's being designed as what's the word? So a completely, a passive house. So it's an airtight house that has very little demands on the energy grid at all. And so it has to do with the kinds of windows they're putting in and the kinds of insulation work they're doing. So they're going to be a couple of very small cooling units. If you saw, there was a big duct on the back that they've gotten rid of or flew. So there are many, many aspects of restoration work and also energy conservation. So let's go to the next. So this now is two cut sections through the building of the existing conditions. And let's go to the next, and you'll see this is the biggest change. And this is cut through the rooftop addition. So you can see that at the top of the building, you've got an extra bump. Up here and up here, tucked behind this. And I think that's the extent of the presentation. So we now have a speaker who lives in a building next door, Deborah Ashline, and she would like to speak. Deborah? Oh, please.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Ashram, and I live in Good evening.
Doesn't seem to be on. Try again.
You might have to turn it on the button might
There you go.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Deborah Ashline, and I live at 383 West End Avenue. This is a very impressive restoration. But what I'm here to speak about is ask the board to vote to reject the roof extension, or at the very least, let's table the roof extension so that I can have more time to show you the impact of the roof extension. I'm circulating a packet that demonstrates the impact of the roof extension. And I'd like to cite a couple of reasons why the roof extension should be rejected, or at the very least then modified. First of all, 381 currently is 4,600 square feet. This project is going to add another 928 feet by digging underground by 14 feet, and the roof extension will add another 410 square feet, plus an open roof deck by building up more than 11 feet. Second reason I wanted, as demonstrated in my handout, is that the roof extension will obliterate the light and warmth that my home currently enjoys because of a very large sky roof that's there. And as you'll see in the packet, there are shadows that will be created by this roof extension that will take away all the energy efficiency in my home. 3, the roof extension violates restrictive covenants that appear to be of record pertaining to the 8 properties that make up this project. The 8 properties are subject to a restrictive covenant from 1886 that was written to protect light and air. It's in your packets. Following the photos that I gave you, it's on pages 8 and 9.
Deborah, I just wanted to, I think this rooftop, this is the best thing I have in the package.
It's inaccurate. It is inaccurate.
It's voicing than anything else. I'm trying to give you the pieces that I have.
Yes, I gave you the photos. Yeah.
I can take it off altogether. I'm asking you to.
Okay, I'm sorry?
Forget it. Never mind.
I'm sorry, in my packet, I believe it's on pages 3 and 15. Page 3 shows you the rooftop. This board has a history of voting against or modifying projects that take away light and air. That's what I'm asking you to do, to be consistent with what you've done in the past and preserve what's the dignity of my home and the energy efficiency that was created in my home with the skylights. Additionally, I also want to point out that the owner of this property is an LLC, of which very little information is known, and you'll see some articles in there about that.
Does anyone have any questions?
Comments? Comments.
Well, that'll be during the session. I will give this back.
Thank you.
So, I guess, I'm sorry, but I do have a question. As maybe I'm wrong then, so your house is going to be skylight, it's adjacent to.
It's adjacent to.
So you're the one on the right, and then right now.
Call 8, I think, shows my property and my.
And so the shadows cast on your skylights, which I see in the photograph, are of an open framework. So presumably, if this is not an open framework but a solid wall, the shadow would be deeper and
yes,
more just.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Is there a way to discern how many hours of the day that shadow would be cast? I mean, presumably it won't be the entire day or.
It will be quite significant. I went up and as I demonstrated in this packet on May 25th, which was almost 2 weeks ago, Friday before Memorial Day. It was a very sunny day. I was at 2:15 in the afternoon, which is when the sky was almost directly above us, and already those shadows were being cast. So you can imagine when the sun is lower, it will be much worse. I have an engineer who's going to be working on this.
So you usually do like a light.
I believe page 7 has the impact in terms of the drawings.
Are the skylights original to your structure?
I think they were put in the 70s into the property, but they were original skylights there from the original construction, and they were replaced in the 70s with more modern, less leaking.
So when this covenant was written, which I now read, your assumption or your assertion is that it would cover the skylights.
If they were there, yes. I don't know if they were originally there. But I'm going to go down to the building department. But it'll take away the lights.
Has the owner of this building reached out to you and tried to make any accommodations or talk to you at all?
About this? No, absolutely not.
Just for the record, that's not what the applicant said at the meeting. Said that there had been discussions.
Someone's lying.
There's not been discussions about the roof
Someone's
extension.
misinterpreting.
I have two questions. Easements. I'm sitting next to a lawyer. If you notice, every time I talk, I have a lawyer next to me. Remember, it's very important. So the interesting thing is this is an easement written in 1886. And I've been sitting listening to lawyers debate the minutiae of every word. What strikes me odd is that it never, because of this being on the corner site, envisioned that there would be any changes to the roof. And that addresses whoever wants to blow up the skylight. In those days, over the staircase or the common areas, they would have what they call the ley line. And in these more prestigious, particularly by this architect, there would have been a stained glass window below and a cavity and another light above for the purposes of lighting the upper floors, which were really maids' quarters or kids' rooms. So I'm a little concerned that this isn't the first time that I've heard about this type of development going on in private homes where they're upgrading to do a LEED, an environmentally, which is wonderful, we need that, but at the expense of somebody else. And I knew my colleague there about if they had any discussions, because these are things that could be worked out between two parties. And so I would be reluctant myself to approve the rooftop addition without any discussions between the two. I think they should come back separately the application, which the Landmarks Commission can do, and allow you some time and for us to understand the ramifications of the process to clarify.
Page's lawyer of the moment, which is me, wants to ask you a question with regard to this restrictive covenant type thing, which is not something we can address. That's a private issue between you and my question is anything going on with regard to that? Have you asserted any legal claim with regard to that? How are you handling that? Are you handling that or dealing with it in any way separate from the LPC application or coming here tonight?
We're going to have to. I mean, but for this construction, we've lived very happily, my family and I, for 25 years, and now find ourselves having to hire lawyers to defend our rights. We've raised our family there. This is over a skylight. My skylight is directly over the staircase, and as you can see from the photographs, provides sun that filters down to almost the main level. It goes down 3 stories. It's the sunshine that's there. So it does that. We have reached out. I have an attorney who did try to reach out, and we have not gotten any responses.
One last question.
Just a really quick comment on that. Being in a very similar situation, hearing that it's a civil matter that should be dealt with privately by lawyers is a really unfair thing to expect for community members to have to individually litigate. It's just prohibitively expensive. And it's something that I think is an administrative question that impacts the community. And
what I meant is the restrictive covenant issue.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I'm not advocating for legal as a first resort, but I think there should be some time before this gets approved. The Landmarks Commission needs to be aware, because they have attorneys and things, that this impacts another historic building.
Yep.
You can't,
Are you talking about this question?
I'm talking about the rooftop addition. If they can do it in a different way and still have their cake and eat it too, with respecting another landmark building, that one may also want to be upgraded, and you would be defended. So it's not an easy situation by any means, and I appreciate the amount of effort the committees put together in terms of such a detailed approval. But this is, I find this component troublesome.
Anybody else?
Well, the way the resolution is worded, we don't have the opportunity to vote separately on the rooftop addition. We need to define it if we're going to go down that road.
I just want to say one thing, and it's not something that's going to make any neighbor happy, but whenever there's an addition that's done within, no zoning changes that are being requested, somebody's affected. Rear yard additions affects the light of the neighbors, and the rooftop additions do unfortunately affect the skylights next door in some way. It's permissible by zoning, and they've done what we believe to be a good job of tucking it back to make it as minimally visible as possible, and still feasibly structural. Structurally feasible.
How do you feel about finding out makes a good structure? So it would be 3A, and then under 18, it would be.
But I do want people to just think about the consistency about everything we present, because this is in fact not inconsistent with other rooftop addition proposals that we have considered. And as I said, rear yards and rooftops do affect neighbors, and it makes me sad, but it's within the realm of doable. Yes.
You have a few more comments.
Yep. Margaret.
So I'll first, okay, so I want to bring us back to the standard by which we are supposed to vote on these things. And I share the concerns of the neighbor and the need for light, and I especially am sensitive to the argument that one person's environmental upgrade is going to come at the expense of another. That's something that weighs on my heart for sure. But the standard by which we are to vote as a board and by which the LPC will vote as a commission is whether or not the changes are appropriate to the historic district. This is not an individual landmark, yes? It is not an individual landmark. And so the question is, would casting a shadow on skylight make a partially visible change to a rooftop addition, not appropriate to the character, the nature of the experience and design and appearance of the building involved and its neighbors and surrounding elements? And I'm hard pressed to see how this issue, which is real, but not within the mandate or footprint or rubric by which we are to vote on these things. And so for me, that's why I find myself in support of the resolution as written.
Yeah, yet the community board traditionally has a ethos, and in terms of preservation, over the past few decades, the frenzy of development has just taken away people's rights to fresh air and sunlight. So, and I'm trying to remember where we read it, but that someone stated, I hope it wasn't Trump, when Trump City was being developed, that nobody's entitled to sunlight. And the most egregious offense to people's rights to sunlight is the development at Alexandria and 97th Street, where Providence Village, the building on the place at the avenue, the entrance on 97th Street. The luxury development that's right in front of it was built 10 feet or maybe 15 feet in front of the building. And it's a taller building, so the entire west facing balconies and windows facing the west completely obliterated. So you walk behind it any time of the day, it's just a dark alley. I think that the community board has a position, I think, even with preservation. So it's one thing to conform to a formal standard of whether a proposal violates the architectural preservation values. But what about preserving the quality of life of the people who, of the citizens of the area? And certainly in the midst of this development frenzy, I think that we can take a position, and I'm not sure that we're locked into following a procedure. That's not a moral position, and I think maybe 60% of our position is the morality of the issue that we're dealing with. And the morality is a value that's gaining currency going on. And the quality of life, I mean, whether you're living in Papa's Village in an apartment building, or whether you're living in a very fine traditional townhouse, you have the same right to sunlight where it exists. And it's just, we should countenance this erosion of what we're entitled to in the way of quality of life and fresh air and sunlight.
So, based on what Paige said about how common the light coming in from the roof was, Based on what Mark said about the original character of historic buildings, I would say Mark just made the argument that we should be taking this down, that this is affecting the original character and intent and design of the building. Exterior source of light was very important, continues to be very important. I agree with what Albert just said, that everyone does have a right to light, and particularly when they have had that light historically, they have purchased that light through the price of the home. The price of the home was undoubtedly increased because it's historic, and there's the expectation of the preservation of the value that they have. Casting shadows over these skylights would damage the private ownership, the value of the property. And it also begs the question of, so we say, fine, take away, get rid of some shadows, then how dare we come back and say the two tall buildings are create a shadow on Central Park, or a shadow on someone else? A shadow is a shadow, a person is a person, and if it affects 100 people or it affects one, it affects us all.
I do have to say something. Then I think that the community board has to establish a policy to turn down any new. And additions and rooftop additions, and they'll make our community a lot simpler. But otherwise, we have never not taken that policy in the past. We bemoan the fact that it's it is within their life. So unless we have a policy that it's kind of hard to suddenly on one. Just for a consistency standpoint, and I feel terrible about it. I'm not I don't like that it's happened, but it's not inconsistent. So
in the past, when I voted along with your committees, I nearly always did, it was never a shadow over a thing.
Well, no, it's just there wasn't somebody saying there's a shadow over.
Okay, I would like to just finish what I want to say, because Roberta's dying to get this right about that. So, it's one thing if there's a minor adjustment in your view, a small adjustment in your view. I'm not even happy about that, but light is light and light is important. If we've made mistakes in the past, that does not justify continuing to make mistakes in the future. Thanks.
As another lawyer, I guess I will just say, I do think the restrictive covenant is something that you would have to get an attorney about and file an injunction, which might be very possible to do. Like, I think that's a good thing you should try doing. I just have a question for the committee about this idea of potentially splitting the issue. Is that even possible? Because I would assume that architecturally they could just not put it, they'd have to redesign the whole plan for that central area and stuff if they couldn't put the roof on.
Well, the applications are presented in parts. So there could be a facade restoration, there could be a window replacement, there could be a rear yard addition, or a rooftop addition. And certainly it's possible to split either disapproval or approval. We approved this project. So as the chairs of the committee, if somebody wants to move, they have a right to do that. We won't do it. We wouldn't consider it a friendly amendment to the resolution. But if somebody wants to make a motion to do that, they're welcome to do it.
And what that means is it goes down to landmarks if that were the case with an approval of one part and disapproval of the part. If that passes, doesn't mean that the whole board will go. That we are advisory. Landmarks has to hear that we've heard things and that they've been heard in the public, and then they make a decision. And if Landmarks deems it inappropriate, their decision is the one that impacts it, and then the architect would have to go back and figure out how to redesign it, if at all. I'm not sure there's a way not to cast a shadow with putting something on the roof. And as I said, I think if the board feels very strongly about that, it's a very important thing for the board to take an active stand, so that we have something to rely on, and not just, I feel bad, or light and air is good for everyone. Yes, of course it is. But we don't live in a stagnant world, and so additions and changes do happen and have happened and will happen. That's why our job is we're tasked with looking at the design perspective within the context of the historic district. Go ahead.
Two comments. One is about our policy. I never knew that we had a landmarks policy that once we decide on one design, it's a cookie cutter and that becomes the standard for all of them. This particular site is a corner. It's a very highly decorated building. We don't see these things very often. We normally see mid-block. You're right. When you do an addition in the rear yard, we try to align them to the extent of the dog leg and further, so there's no encroachment any more than is necessary. So there are some general principles, I wouldn't call them rules, or guidelines that our committee tries to follow because we know our landmarks better than the Landmarks Commission. My concern is that if we're suddenly changing, like land use, we cannot apply what we learned from one project to the next because each one has its own set of circumstances. This is the first one in probably 10 years that I've seen, apart from that thing that was called Fine Times that Madonna was going to have parties in, if you remember. That's the only other one that was also going for grants where we actually turned it down because it was too much. Sometimes you can do too much to a historic building to a neighbor that will degrade it and affect others. So my first point is, I am not asking for a policy change for the committee's work. This is a one-off with a very unusual set of circumstances. The second issue is that because we are now moving into environmental, I think it's great that they're not mining new slate, that they're using rubber slates to simulate. They're the ones putting triple glazing in, great. All those things are wonderful. But I don't think the environmental improvements should be done at the expense of a neighbor who already has a passive house. Everybody knows that historic buildings perform better than some new construction because they're made of wood, plaster, cavity walls, all sorts of things. So I'm worried that the Landmarks Commission, if you don't know, is sort of landmarks light in terms of them reviewing things. They're all about design. They're not about the preservation and character, and as you rightly pointed out, the quality of life. Because that's why people buy small buildings. They don't want to live in an apartment. They want a passive life. So on this particular one, I propose a motion to separate the rooftop addition, which can be handled by landmarks because it's a completely different process than the staff review. This is going before a public hearing. The other components are usually handled at staff level, and they have their own guidelines.
This one wouldn't be the thing. I mean,
I know, because they're doing three different glazing. But I think to separate the rooftop, it doesn't stop the commission. It doesn't stop the applicant from doing anything. We don't have that power. It makes them consider when the commission is deliberating, there are other factors to consider. It's not just the right of one person, it's the context of this particular corner building. So I propose.
Can I make a quick comment? Can I make a comment in seconding? So I second it, but.
Is there a second? Okay, now.
I think it's going to be two votes on the same thing. So I urge Gabby and Jay to consider it as a friendly amendment.
They're not. So we're going to vote on the amendment to divide this into two pieces.
So the motion to divide the resolution into
two different votes.
And Paige, I assume that it's to disapprove the rooftop addition and to approve the rest. Is that correct?
No, this is just a motion to separate them.
No, just separate
them. Then there'll be a vote on the resolution.
Correct, but separate
her
what?
Her resolution is to disapprove. No.
I'm asking you to separate the two issues, rooftop, that can be handled separately, and then if you agree to separate it.
All right, all those in favor of separating.
The amendment to deal with the details of the rooftop addition separately.
It's not they didn't accept it as friendly. So we're going to vote on the resolution to put this as.
It's a motion to disapprove, to send.
No, it's not a motion.
Yes, it is.
Mark, whoa, wait a minute.
It's got to.
It's got to be a motion for or against.
Can we just do this
Yeah.
correctly and?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm doing it correctly,
The
but go ahead.
motion is to split the resolution.
Right.
Into.
Right.
Vote on the rooftop addition.
But not
Other part, separately, not to disapprove.
Okay.
Or approve anything. Then we'll take a separate
You
vote.
can't.
Mark, okay,
I'm sorry.
wait, I got it. Mark, so Paige wants the resolution to separate the rooftop addition.
But the resolution has to take a position.
We're going to give you a position. To disapprove without prejudice.
There you go.
Okay, all those in favor?
Excuse me, I think that really, given that the committee voted to approve everything, it ought to start as a resolution to approve the rest of the restoration work, and then separate out the rooftop, but continue to maintain the committee vote as an approval, and then you guys can all turn it down, but to be consistent with what we wrote in our votes.
No, we're
I
changing.
think Abby is correct, that Paige's motion should be solely to take two separate votes, one on the rooftop addition, second, but the first one would be on the rest of the project.
And then, as.
So the vote now.
Whatever works.
So,
I think, Mark, that the problem is that we're not voting on a resolution. We're making a motion. A procedural motion to separate the parts of the resolution. Period. Then we'll vote on a resolution.
it is, it's not a good way to do it, but that's what you want to do. But
All right, we are going to vote now on separating, all those in favor of making this into two votes, raise your hands.
Can we vote on how we split the vote?
All right.
We're not voting on the resolution, we're voting to make it into two separate votes.
Okay, so this is in favor of two separate votes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This will be 3A and 3B.
9,
It's not a
10.
resolution.
No, you don't record this vote.
It's not a resolution.
It's not a resolution.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 26. I have 26. Hang on 1 second, I lost my place. So it's, obviously it carries. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anybody abstaining? 1, 2. Anybody else? 2. And nobody's no, right? Right. Okay, so the vote on the motion is 26 to 6 to 2 to 0 to have two resolutions on this. Now,
Okay, so we're gonna, on the voting sheet, item number 3 will be on the main,
The restoration work.
the restoration work. Item 17 will be the rooftop addition. So,
I think that just for consistency with what our committee is, the resolution,
will be to
each of the resolutions from the committee's perspective is to approve, and then the board has. Okay, can we call the question on 3, which is now to approve the restoration facade, everything except the rooftop?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Hang on 1 second, I'm sorry. I just gotta make a note.
Okay, that's the separation, and we're now doing the approval of the entire restoration with the exception of the rooftop.
Thank you. All those in favor of that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I've got 34. We grew 2 in the last half hour. Anybody, hands down, anybody opposed? I see none. Anybody abstaining? And again, I see none, and no one is ineligible. So the first resolution on restoration other than the rooftop carries 34-0 to 0 to 0. And now we're gonna, are we ready to,
So now
call the question?
yes. So now on item 17.
Item 17, as the committee reviewed it, 17 is part B of item 3.
So a yes vote will be to approve it, a no vote
Would be to turn down the approval. So all.
Everybody clear on that?
No.
No, you're not clear. A yes vote means to approve the rooftop addition as presented and presented in the resolution that's written in your packet.
And to be specific for everyone, in the resolution,
That is contained into the next to the last bullet on the page. That's what we're voting on. The next to the last. The roof on the voting sheet. The roof
No, on the
resolution.
On the resolution.
So if you vote yes, you're approving what the committee stated. If you vote no, you are disapproving.
Question has been called. All those in favor of approving the rooftop addition as Ethel just explained it, raise your hands now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 10. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 19, 20, 21. I have 21. Anybody abstaining? 1, 2. Anybody else? 2. 4, 3. I'm sorry, abstaining again, hands. I only see, oh, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3. You're right. Thank you.
Oh, no, not me.
No. Okay. Hang on. Sorry, one more time. All those abstaining. 1, 2. Paul, were you abstaining? Yes, okay, 2. I'm sorry, what was the opposed? 16.
21 opposed.
21, thank you. 2, and no one is ineligible. So
we're now going to have a resolution to disapprove. And that will be number 18.
I'm sorry, the approval of the rooftop addition failed.
Correct.
So,
We're done.
well, you could leave it at that, or you could turn it around and say, make a resolution to disapprove.
Which is what we often do. We often do that.
I'd like to make a motion to disapprove.
Okay, we're gonna move on. All right, next item.
There's a motion to disapprove. Has anyone seconded it?
The next application.
Did someone second my motion?
Sorry, this doesn't make any sense. There's a motion on the floor.
There is, and it's been seconded.
There's a motion that's been seconded.
It was not second. Okay, move on to the next item.
Did you second it? It was seconded. Andrew seconded it.
There's a motion on the floor.
I'm sorry, guys, do we need to do something else before going on to the next application? Is that what we're discussing?
Yes.
There was a resolution to disapprove, I second.
Okay, it's easy enough.
Okay,
We're gonna
so
go to
item number 18. Item number 18, there's a resolution on the floor to disapprove the rooftop addition. All those people pay attention, please, everybody pay attention. Item number 18 is to disapprove. All those.
No, there was a resolution with a second, so it's just easy, let's do it, guys. A resolution to disapprove the rooftop addition. All in favor of disapproving, raise your hand.
We're disapproving.
So that there is a formal resolution to disapprove, I think that's the rationale.
I have 19. Those opposed to that resolution? 1, 2. No, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Tell me. Anybody abstaining? 1, 2. Abstain. 3, 3.
Let's move on to the next item.
I'm sorry, I missed one though, Mark. What was the votes to approve? Did you say 19?
I'm sorry, on the last one?
Yeah.
The last one, the rooftop disapproval, the vote was 19 to 10 to 3 to 0.
Did we just lose 2 people because before it was 10 to 21 to 3 0?
You can keep yourself up all night trying to make sense of
Let's
that.
just,
Let's try to move to the next one. Mark, do you know how I change it?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I do have to do
Next
that.
application. The next one is a really simple application. 3 windows or 2 windows flank in the center door and the second part of the floor of a row house on West 87th Street. They're aluminum replacement windows, and there we go. This is item number 340, number 4, 341 West 87th Street. So, we're talking about these windows, which are now currently, are aluminum replacement windows, and now they're proposing to put back mahogany windows with the original brick mold and basically restore it to the original proportions. Let's go to the next one, please. This is what's there, and this is what's proposed. The committee found it reasonably appropriate and voted to approve. Any questions? Okay, so this is a vote to approve the window replacement at 341 West 87th Street, item 4. All in favor?
Is that 30? I'm sorry, 31? Hands down, all those opposed? Nobody? Anybody abstaining? And, resolution carries 31-0 to 0 to 0.
Okay, so we now have to go to the next, sorry, Mark.
That's okay. It just tells you how valuable Christian was in this job.
I know, I don't know if it's gonna turn the PDFs into slides.
I can do that.
You still do that? Okay, thank you. Okay, this last application is for an installation of 2 through-wall condensing units that are part of an internal air conditioning system. It's at 600 West End Avenue, the corner of 89th Street and West End. And this is the historic photo. Let's go to the next. And, oh no, I guess, let's go back. Let's just go back. Okay. So, except that the cornice is no. Okay. Oh, there we go. It's on the 4th floor, and it happens to be on the floor of a building that has a lot of decorative banding under the windows. So going under the windows is not an option. This apartment is totally street facing, both West End and 89th Street. So there are no courtyard windows to make these wall cuts. And so what the applicant did was to take a look. Let's go to the next one. This is the proposal, is to stack 2 cuts, through-wall cuts to the side of the window. This is the decorative band that they can't go through. In other instances, of course, you can do this. Let's go to the next one. And so this is the existing conditions and another. And so in this line, I need cataract eye surgery, see guys, so which is why I'm having a little bit of trouble seeing this stuff. But in the line of the windows, there are other instances where there are cuts alongside of the windows, and there's a very limited space in the plans where they can make the cuts, and this is sort of the least intrusive to the facade, and by lining the 2 up side by side, it makes it less impactful than to have 2 in separate places. And so we found the application minimally appropriate. In a perfect world, we wouldn't do it, but there's no other choice. So we did approve it as minimally appropriate. It was not 100% unanimous, but it was 4-0 to 1. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the effect on the inside of the building? Or what is done on the outside? Did they tell you?
The impact is, I mean, it's like any through-wall air conditioner. You just make a cut, make a box around it, and it's done.
Okay. So nothing.
Right, I mean, it's
my furniture.
In fact, these units don't expel they expel the air to the outside. The air handlers are elsewhere in the apartment. This is how the hot, it's a split system. It takes the cooling part and puts it one place, and then the exhaust another place. You don't have to access it the way you did, and leave it open the way you would a through-wall unit that has to vent to bring the cool air out. It's in the same position.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay, on these cuts, these are going to be flush to the
The grills will be flush,
the
and then
condensers are going to protrude out of the building.
No, they'll be flush on the outside.
There are architectural style horizontal linear grills that are color matched or, you know, as close as possible to the material grill.
There are at least a better alternative to window units that stick out.
Any other questions?
Just a clarification. The only cuts that they're making this stack arrangement is only on 89th Street.
Correct, and they chose, there was one position, there was this one, and there was a position in a similar, it's the only room that has options, and the other would have been on West End, and we agreed with it. It was, the entrance is on West End, so this is the secondary of the two street facing facades, even though they were both facing facades. So we voted to approve as minimally appropriate. Any other questions?
All those in favor?
At 31, hands down, all those opposed? Seeing none. Anyone abstaining? I've got one. Only one, and two. And no one ineligible for cause, yes? So the resolution carries 31 to 0 to 2 to 0.
Our last item, which is not listed, we wanted to give the board a quick update. You recall last month we talked about the fact that the Landmarks Commission had issued proposed rules changes to their procedures, most of which in essence would have taken away commission review of many of the items. And the result of taking away commission review is to take away community board review. The first public hearing was on March 27th. I testified, Mark testified. We sent a letter objecting, a strong letter objecting to the rules changes, and as well as a memo describing the most important objections that we had at the time. We also attended a meeting with the LPC staff that was held for concerned community board members. We submitted a letter with a memo, a second supplemental letter after the meeting, and we attended a briefing last week by the staff of the commission to the commissioners, which was the response to the public comments. And just so you know, the overwhelming response to these proposed rule changes was negative. And virtually every advocacy group and the few community boards that have the most stake in Landmarks review, which is, our district is one of them actually. Our district reviewed more applications than any other single community board in the 5 boroughs. The good news is that, much to our surprise, during that briefing, the staff presented revisions of the proposed rules. And basically, all of the major objections that we had made were removed from the proposed changes. So, for example, right now, if there's an application to create both a rear yard addition and a rooftop addition, that automatically comes before us and then before the commission. The proposed rules originally had allowed staff to make that decision without any public hearing. That's been removed. A single proposal to put a rooftop addition or a rear yard addition, except for some very limited circumstances, now has to remain subject to public review. Excavations under townhouses will remain subject to public review. Certain changes to no style of buildings within a historic district will remain subject to public review. So the outcry that these proposed rules provoked was pretty effective. And I know personally I was shocked that the agency was this responsive to the outpouring of criticism. And the basic result is that it will continue to be the way it is now without any serious diminution in the reviewability of the community boards and the commission.
And by the way, the chair left, and there's an interim
She's
chair.
The other big change to the Landmarks Commission is that Meenakshi has stepped down as of June 1, and she is now going back to a teaching career, dealing with law and planning. And so, unfortunately, for the term of Meenakshi's tenure, she never appointed a vice chair who could stand in. And that person was recently selected as Fred Bland, who's an architect. And I won't spare you the saga, but he's a very nice man. He was at the firm I used to work for many, many years ago. But just like the criticism with Meenakshi was, when she came on board, she said, take your preservation hats off to the staff, and there was an exodus of very qualified people who left. This commissioner is being described as Meenakshi Mach 2, because it's all about design and not about preservation. So there are lots of blogs I encourage you to just look up. There's one called Human Scale New York City. Linda Ellsworthy, who has been covering this, Municipal Arts Society, Landmark West, Greenwich Village Historical Society, because we're trying to find somebody who goes back to the era of Sheridan Paulson, Tierney. I'm trying to think of some of the other past chairs who really wanted to maintain historic context and quality of life and not make it a design review. So please, there's going to be a demonstration on June 14th in front of City Hall to encourage de Blasio to find someone with the credentials to run this. Just as important as it is to find the right people to head the MTA or anyone else. It's very important, and if you care, write in. I think, yes, Diana Howard is still here, and I don't know if Marissa's still here, but I know that Gail's concerned a little bit about this as well, to make sure that the agencies are staffed with the right people, with the right dedication to landmarks. Thank you.
I have a quick update on my situation, which is very relevant to this, if people want to hear it, otherwise I don't need to. Okay.
So, I'm going to introduce the captain again, but before I do, I just want to thank the 2O. On a week and a half ago, I was looking at the sidewalk on 65th Street. I was standing in front of Amsterdam Additions. The Transportation Committee has a resolution that the board passed to get that sidewalk replaced. It's where LaGuardia had a sidewalk shed for many, many years. I was standing outside with the president of the TA and the people from Amsterdam Addition, the Dutch people, when a can of carrots crashed, see it out of the corner of my eye, crashed on the ground and was flat like an envelope. And so we contacted our people at the 2O, and they came and investigated, and unfortunately, there were further incidents, I'll let the captain explain.
Yeah,
So this is in front of 240 West 65 Street. It's a NYCHA building. It's not part of National Houses. That was Thursday the 24th at about 10:45 a.m. And what happened was, as the road was walking along, as you described, can of carrots comes down, and it was smashed. We went over there. They set up a small crime scene. We had our evidence collection team come. They were unable to get any fingerprints off the can. And we thought, hey, this might just be like a one-time prank. Well, it wasn't. At about 3 p.m. the next day, a 41-year-old female was walking in the exact same location from 240 West 65 Street on her way home to 10 West End Avenue. And a can of beans came from somewhere off the building. This time it hit her in the head, splitting her scalp. You can see apparently like right down to the skull. She's fine. She was in the hospital for 24 hours, required a healthy amount of stitches. The response was as follows, is of course we set the crime scene again. This time we had ACT come over and it was raining. Well, the first time when you were walking along, which made this impossible. The next day we were able to DNA swab the can. It's being processed. It takes a couple of weeks. We'll see if we get any hits back off that. Members of our detective squad went up each and every line that faced the street. There's no witnesses and no video, so we're counting on the DNA to come back and hopefully we get a hit. I will keep the board posted on that. If you have anything like that at 240 West 65, if you hear anything about that, like a can coming out somewhere, it's not a practical joke. It's very serious. Please encourage anyone to stop, move to the other side of the street, call 911, and do not touch anything so we can hopefully recover more evidence. The other high-profile incident that I wanted to give an update on, I figure I'll wait till the end of the meetings and just update if there's anything high-profile. On the 28th, that's Monday the 28th at 12:10 a.m. Right around the corner from that, not connected to this at all, 100 Amsterdam, that's right in front of Warrior High School. It's the west side of the street on Amsterdam between 6-4 and 6-5, opposite Lincoln Center. A male who lives in the Amsterdam houses was walking along. There was a dark BMW laying in wait for him. It was waiting between 5 and 10 minutes parked at a fire hydrant as he rounded the corner. They fired, the passenger got out from the passenger side, fired 8 9mm rounds at the victim, striking him 3 times. Remarkably, he was shot once in the leg and once in the side, the flank, and then once in the back. He was out of the hospital in 24 hours. We have a healthy amount of video of the incident. The issue is this, is that because of the hour, because of nighttime, the cameras from Lincoln Center across the street, with the lights from a car and the taillights, we can't read the plate. Other videos that we recovered from nearby locations suffer from the same problem. We've had issues getting the plate. We have subpoenas out to both LaGuardia High School and to Con Ed. We're working with the DA's office to see their video, which will hopefully be of a higher quality. We believe the car fled west on 66th Street. We looked at all of the toll cameras, didn't come up with anything. It's currently under investigation. The other high-profile story was, of course, the majority of the reported crime in the 20th precinct comes from the 6 Wayne Reed stores that operate within our borders. As a result of media attention, what Walgreens did, Walgreens and Wayne Reed, and then CBS and Lego, the same parent company. Walgreens and Wayne Reed, what they did in 3 of our 6 stores, they deployed uniformed security guards in 2 of the stores between the hours of 3 p.m. and 11 p.m., and the other store between 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. So they were there, they were deployed on 5/9. So what we did was this, is we did an analysis between January 1st and May 8th, and then between May 8th and May 31st, looking at the theft incidents, that's robbery, burglary, petty larceny, grand larceny that occurred during the 8 hours that the guards were deployed. Across the 3 stores, stunningly, no one's surprised, when security guards are there, the theft incidents declined by 75%. From 0.16 per day in that 8-hour block to 0.04 per day in that 8-hour block. We shared that data earlier this week with Walgreens and asked them to give us more coverage to try and dissuade people. As a reminder, all of the arrested perpetrators are coming from outside of the Upper West Side to try and dissuade people from coming into our community to steal. We're just waiting to hear back from them. We want the data, it's not statistically significant because it's a 21-day period, but it's so striking, that reduction of 75%, that we're hoping to hear back from them and to deploy more security assets to the Upper West Side is what we're looking for. Captain Palmer will be at the Transportation Committee meeting next Tuesday night. I'm being pulled away to another department function. I will be at the following one. I'm very amenable. We'll talk more about the suggestions made earlier tonight. We actually think it's a good one on our block to have the signs actually reflect when we're doing the street cleaning. It's kind of common, like that. It's common sense. We'll take it up. We could probably use some assistance from the Transportation Committee. Again, if anyone wants any other updates on smaller quality of life issues, I'll hang around for a little while longer after.
Now we go to BCI. Ooh.
Everybody who's a tenured, you have a question about that? Okay.
Michelle, I was wondering, do you know about the site that used to be Audie's, between 82nd and 83rd, work is going on there? And I'm wondering if it is a restaurant, what can you do to prevent that enclosed area on the sidewalk, which really extrudes onto it and is very outrageous?
Yeah, they're filming, do you know that?
Yeah. We're filming The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel television show, and it was outfitted as a stage deli. It's a TV shoot.
So it's just,
It's a prop for a show, a good show.
Still available.
Okay, thanks. So we're here to talk about number 6, new applications. Oh, I forgot to tell you. New members, you're welcome to come to BCI. I think our next meeting is next Wednesday. We'd like to see you there. Tenured members, the same. We only see a couple of you, but we don't mind seeing a few more of you. You're welcome. Number 6, new applications to the SLA. We have, right here. 680 Columbus at West 93rd. That was the former Gabrielle's. So a new restaurant is going there, a kosher burger place. And 886 Amsterdam at West 103, across the street from the hospital. That's an existing restaurant, and they're looking for a full liquor license, and we approved both of them. 886 came with a recommendation and support from the bid uptown. Any questions?
I'm sorry, across from the hospital? No.
The hostel, yeah.
Hostel, I'm sorry.
Hostel. Yes. What did I say, Gabrielle? Oh, I meant it's next to Gabrielle's. You're right. Next to Gabrielle's, former Elizabeth. That's right. And then before that, steakhouse, you said, yeah. Okay. Any questions? All right, so I'll call the question. All those in favor of the SLA application? Number 6. Yeah, thank you.
I have 33. I think that's everybody. Let's keep going. Hands down, all opposed? Anybody abstaining? Or ineligible to vote? Resolution carries 33-0 to 0.
Thank you. The next application is also an SLA license, 108 West 74. Roberta, we have people for and against the application. Do you want to do that first, or do you want me to just give a little blurb about it? Yeah. Jerry told me what to do. I'll do it. Okay. This is a new restaurant on 74th Street. We have spent many hours with the neighbors and the community and the applicant, and
It originally included in their application the use of the backyard. The applicant has agreed not to use the backyard. Remember, these SLA acts are for 2 years, so they'd have to renew in 2 years. They agreed not to use the backyard, and they agreed to limit their hours of operation, 10 p.m. on the weekdays, 11 p.m. on the weekends, being Friday and Saturday night. After many hours, this is what the resolution boils down to.
Michelle, I missed 10 p.m. on the weekdays and what hour of the week?
11 p.m. on the weekends. That's Friday and Saturday, Mark.
Thank you.
We voted to disapprove this because it says here, unless the following stipulations are agreed upon in the method of operation: reduced hours of operation with last seating 10 p.m. weekdays, 11 p.m. weekends, and the applicant agrees to amend the application so there is no use of backyard outdoor space for any purpose. So we're going to ask you to disapprove the application because the applicant, through his attorney, said that it's going to be disapproved unless, and then the applicant will submit the stipulation to those two things they agreed upon to the office tomorrow. So the resolution to disapprove with the acceptance of the two contingencies will go to the SLA. In short.
Part of the background is that the past 2 meetings that there has been a lot of opposition from the community for the resident, particularly because of the use of the backyard. The committee felt that if we were to disapprove the whole application, it would likely be that the SLA will approve the license as a standard. Which is why we are approving the use of we are approving to have the use legal license inside and have them with the stipulation that they will not use the backyard.
Yeah, our best position is to get stipulations before the application goes to the SLA, because that's upstate and they will approve it unless we add steps.
We're going to have 4 speakers. You're going to be limited to 1 minute each because there was a full hearing at the committee meeting.
Yeah, we have Ross Salino first. Is he still here?
Spell your last name, sir.
Hi, my name is Ross Salino. It's C-E-L-L, I don't know. I'm a resident of 105 West 73rd Street, and I urge you to reject the application for the 2-year liquor license, with my main concern being noise and its effect on the quality of life for the neighborhood. As someone who lives on the 8th floor, I can attest to the fact that sound travels is magnified in the area due to the so-called canyon effect. Currently, when neighbors use this outdoor space, it can be very noisy. And I'm concerned that a restaurant will bring additional noise and decrease the quality of life for all the neighbors. Again, I urge you to reject this liquor license and thank you for your time.
Next, Mr. Hussein. You're going to have to spell your name.
Hussein?
Yes.
But it's with a Y?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Hussein Özer. It's Husseyin, and the last name is Ozer.
Thanks. I can charge you the time for that.
Hello, everyone. I'm a restaurant operator for the past 18 years on the Upper West Side. I worked at Bella Luna as a manager. I started as a busser, server, and then I ended up being a manager. And then I opened a bowl restaurant on the Upper West Side in 2007. So this space became available on 108 West 74th Street. I didn't see any harm. I didn't mean any harm to the neighbors. And I really appreciate your feedback and you coming over here and having a conversation with me. And as I said, I'm not going to use the backyard, and I'm willing to close the restaurant early. The last seating on weekdays is going to be 10 p.m. and the weekends it's going to be 11. And I'm really looking forward to be part of the neighborhood if you allow me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Colleen Farrell.
Hello, Board. My name is Colleen Farrell. I'm a resident of 105 West 73rd Street. The building on the north side of 73rd that backs our back courtyard, that's right up to where the restaurant property is. First of all, thank you so much for disapproving the liquor license before, and we appreciate the thoughtfulness with which you're really approaching this issue. We do feel that the restaurant noise and activities would dramatically degrade the quality of life for residents who face the back. There are about 50 apartments that do face the back courtyard, and there would also be negative impacts for people on 74th Street. We only became aware of this issue about 3 weeks ago, and we were able to come to the committee meeting, which was we appreciated. But since that time, our neighborhood has been unified in opposition against any access to the backyard and to the restaurant. We've been working with residents of our building, with residents from 115 West 73rd, 102 West 74th, 104 West 70, 104 74th, 106 74th, 110 74th, 118 74th, and others. We submitted a letter to the community board 2 days ago, and it is from 3 of those buildings. I hope you have a copy. I have one copy here, as well as a petition signed by about 150 local residents who share our concerns about the restaurant. And we're pro small businesses. We appreciate restaurants, and but the issue is the unique space in this backyard that's of great concern with us. We appreciate the flexibility of having the restricted hours and not using the backyard, but it's very unclear to us how that would be enforced. We looked up the certificate of occupancy, and that is for use of the outdoor space. So we're really, we're not lawyers, we're not clear what this would mean and how it would be enforceable. So for that reason, we're asking you to disapprove. We really, we don't think that the owner's right to be successful should be at our expense for our quality of life and the property value for our buildings. And there's lots of restaurant space on the avenues that so there isn't a community need for one in our backyard. So thank you very, very much.
Benjamin Savinsky.
Good evening, Ben Savitsky. I'm the attorney for B&H Restaurant LLC, and obviously I'm in support of the application. I just want to mention a few things. They mentioned that this was the subject of extensive discussions at the committee meeting. It was, I think it went on for an hour and a half. Hussein has been operating Bodrum on the Upper West Side in your community for how many years? Over a decade. It's in a residential building. He's very familiar with the idea of operating a restaurant in a residential building, and he has no complaints from the community. He has no violations from the SLA, which is very, very rare in this industry. He's a good operator. This space is zoned for commercial use. The ground floor is zoned for commercial use, and Hussein already gave up. He understands the concerns of the community. He gave up the option to use the backyard. It's enforced by, just going to the question about how it's going to be enforced. Our application that goes into the SLA is only going to include the inside portion. It's not going to include the outside portion. So if anybody goes outside, that's technically a violation of the agency law. Hussein could lose his license for doing that. He's an experienced operator with a liquor license for over a decade. He's not going to do that. The whole ground floor was gutted, and they're putting in all new, it's a completely new construction on the ground floor. The soundproofing in there is top of the line. All the windows on the outside are sealed, And basically what I'm just trying to say is, without the use of the outside, which is a problem, and with the soundproofing, there's gonna be no noise that's coming from this place. In addition to that, I can understand the concerns if this was a club, or if it was a lounge, or a bar. This is a legitimate restaurant from a legitimate restaurateur. He's gonna be using recorded background music at an ambient level. It's not gonna be like a party in there. I can guarantee it. I've been to his other places, and I think some of you have as well. He's an experienced operator, and we think that he's gonna be a really welcome addition to this area.
Can I just add, the space does not lend itself to an outdoor cafe in the front. There's not enough space on the sidewalk to put in tables and chairs.
He's not intended to go for a sidewalk cafe.
All right, the last speaker, then Audrey, please, we'll take the question. Brad Vogna, did I say that right?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
How you doing? I'm here on behalf of 106 West 74th Street, which is directly next door to 108. Sorry? No. Among other concerns we have, number one, this is a 2-year sort of temporary license that will be granted and then reviewed after the 2 years.
No, it's reviewed now, and then they have to make a renewal application.
Yeah,
Send
in
a
2
new
years.
application. That's right.
One of the concerns that comes about that is having a consistent enforcement mechanism. If this gets approved, 2 years is an awfully long time and a lot of damage can be done to the property values, to the quality of life in the neighborhood, with a restaurant that after 3 months it might be apparent it shouldn't be there at all. Now, what do you guys have in place that, okay, so there shouldn't be people in the back area dining. Every restaurant has people spilling out the back that work in the restaurant, throwing trash, making noise. What? Sorry?
I don't know exactly.
Well, where are they going to be housing their garbage? Yeah.
It's going to be in the basement.
It's going to be in the basement.
Facing the 7th suite.
Okay.
Yeah, we reviewed that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, one other thing that I wanted to present on behalf of the resident, the owners of 106 West 74th. We have a letter here attesting to the fact that the owners were illegally operating Airbnbs in the building.
Who's operating?
The owners at 108 West 74th Street.
Not the applicant.
No, the applicant doesn't own the.
It's not the applicant.
That's not relevant to
Not the name of this application,
But maybe you want to give it to the applicant.
Yeah, you can give that to us. Audrey, you have a question? But you need the mic.
I'm gonna bring you a mic. Wait, I have a mic here.
Considering that the applicant is willing to sign a stipulation saying that they will not use the backyard and that they will limit the hours of operation exactly as he requested, I don't understand why we do not approve contingent upon execution of stipulations as requested. I don't understand why we're doing the opposite, which is to disapprove unless.
Because we don't have the stipulation from us. Signed stipulation.
Disapprove unless the stipulation is executed. What is the impact on this application?
If we disapprove, it's disapproved. If they don't submit the stipulation, it's disapproved. If they submit the stipulation, the SLA will say, but it's disapproved, and they'll say, but we have the stipulation, and then the SLA will consider whether they will grant the application or not. I'm sorry, yes, Linda.
It used to be SLA allowed us to say, we approve the XYZ stipulations. But then they changed their policy. Ergo, we have to, this is not, yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but this is SLA's requirements, it's their criteria. We have to disapprove with the stipulations if we want to have it approved. And by the way, if we categorically disapprove it, chances are it'll get passed and we won't have any
that we won't have any say so, any influence on whether there's a rear yard or anything else. Hours of operation, we won't have any standing whatsoever. So the ideal thing here is to disapprove with the stipulations so that there won't be, so that it's a compromise with the neighborhood and everything else.
This is mind you, a 17-table restaurant. Mark, you have a question?
Yeah, not so much a question as a confirmation, and perhaps we should ask the captain. To address one of the concerns that was raised by the neighbors about how is this enforced, am I correct that if the process that you laboriously and studiously followed to get yourself to this provision, if that happens, there will be a method of operation that is a part of their license, so that if there is behavior that is inconsistent with it, whether it be serving in the backyard or staying open too late, that the police department can be called, and when they access the license, they access the license.
Yes, we notify the SLA.
This method of, thanks, I'm glad you did. This method of operation is in effect a contract with the community that says we as Restaurant XYZ will do this, that, and the other thing. Andrew?
I would just say for those that have a possible problem with this application, you're dealing with some of the finest people that own a restaurant anywhere in the West Side, and if they say they're gonna stick to this plan, they're gonna stick to it. I wouldn't want.
As another neighbor on 88th Street, they are great with kids. They're there to supervise from school. When kids get off the bus, they're waiters. Everybody that works there, they bunny sat for my daughter's bunny. On occasion, you can't get more gentle than that. So I agree with Andrew that they are a lovely group of people. I don't know how you managed to do it, but it's no room. It's the same. Can I ask a question about the rear yard though?
Sure.
Are they allowed to plant in there? Like say, because the thing is, their restaurants are beautiful. They put things in tubs.
They said no use. I'm not going any further than that, neither are they.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
if planting were.
They said no use. So we're gonna leave it just like that. All right, so I'm going to call the question, ask for your disapproval unless the following stipulations are agreed to in the method of operation, limit the hours, and no use at all of the backyard.
All those in favor? I have 31, hands down. Anybody opposed?
So,
I don't see any. Anybody abstaining? One. And anybody ineligible to vote? One. The resolution carries 31 to 0 to 1 to 1.
Thank you. The next one, number 8, 417 Amsterdam Avenue. We disapprove the application because they did not show up to the committee meeting, but we added that they agreed to reapply in June, and they also agreed to send a letter to the board office. They will not send the notice. Anyway, they agreed to not do anything in writing until they see us next week. And they did not show up at the meeting, so this is a vote to disapprove. All those in favor? And you know this is without prejudice, but we can't say that in SLA lingo anymore.
Gotta show up.
We got 33, I think it's everybody, but anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? And anybody ineligible? 33 to 0 to 0 to 0. I'm sorry. I know, I'm sorry.
Nobody understood
That's
what
what
you
you do,
said.
you translate the final result into broken French.
Was the resolution approved? Number 9, 153-155 Amsterdam Avenue. We're taking the vote to the board because they didn't show up at the pre-meeting, the meeting before this meeting, but they're here today. Yeah, I mean, you were here, but we were waiting for the applicant. Before 6:30? No. Yeah. No, he was at the committee meeting, I'm talking about today. The issue with, maybe you could just kind of step up to the, yeah, the issue with this restaurant was the sound insulation. And we waited for a statement from the architect to give us a little better idea of what kind of soundproofing they will use. And we got a letter, and so, Josh, we're okay on this, Paul, we're okay on this? The question is, yeah, we have a letter that says what kind of insulation they're gonna use, and we never got to ask at the pre-meeting today, when is this gonna be done?
Well, the letter said they're gonna do it anyway by letter, like, we don't put it as proof in anything.
Because they can do this one.
I don't know, they're here now, we can ask them.
They weren't here for the meeting.
Correct.
So why?
They can do that. I mean, they stayed here the whole meeting, but whatever, this is an SLA application. I don't know, what's the time frame on this?
We still have more construction to do.
So they
No, I will-
So why don't we vote on it in June, why don't we vote on the July meeting, and we can vote on it in June?
We will not have missed our opportunity to comment if we wait that long?
I'm afraid we will.
Will we miss our opportunity?
The matter,
And say you are.
I'm Charles Glenn, I'm the attorney for the applicant. There's a 500-foot hearing with the State Liquor Authority just this week. Probably it'll be about 3-4 weeks thereafter that would go before the board for final determination. So there is a window there. I apologize because I normally do not submit applications until it's fully vetted. And I believe that we just have the one issue with soundproofing. Matter of fact, the one issue was raised by the tenant that's right above the apartment. She's here, we've had discussions. She has my card, I have her information. Matter of fact, there's been no noise problems for the 3 weeks that we had the first meeting with the committee. There shouldn't be a problem for us. It's part of our method of operation now with regards to the installation of the State Liquor Authority, so that method of operation has to be provided. In addition to that, as I said, construction is not complete. It probably won't be complete for about a month and a half. The installation will be provided before the restaurant opens.
So technically, what do we do tonight?
We could vote on the condition that it be completed.
But the voting, approval on condition, as Linda just explained, doesn't really do anything.
Right, the main concern we had was that the main concern we had at the meeting was that when they came to present, they really didn't have a clear idea as to what kind of insulation we're installing. So, with the data that we received tonight, we still have a concern that we wanted to hear from the owners as to what they were actually doing in terms of the installation, the soundproofing, since they were not here. Right now, as it stands, I would say that we will go for disapprove.
So why don't we disapprove that condition?
Well, we'll just disapprove, because it is without prejudice, and we'll see them next week, Wednesday. Mark?
Well, the concern we have is that if we disapprove and just have a straight disapproval, the likelihood is that SLA will override our disapproval and approve. Am I correct in that?
I don't know, is John still there? The answer is yes, but we have a meeting next week.
So would it be helpful if someone, I don't know, someone my age and looks, made a motion to disapprove unless disapprove unless adequate sound insulation is installed, and then you can, is adequate to wishy-washy?
Yeah, a little, because we don't know what adequate means.
No, but here's the thing. In the past, when we had the issues that
come back to us, with an engineer's report.
Yeah.
What we got is this kind of letter saying, we'll do this.
Okay.
So there's no way to.
But you don't want to miss the window to comment at all.
Yeah.
Although it was pointed out by the attorney that we could say unless the soundproofing is as described in the letter of blah, 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 right?
I think that's,
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, we've got this separate caveat to say with the soundproofing, yeah,
As described in the letter.
So that would be the motion, to disapprove unless the soundproofing meets whatever. the-
Needs.
We'll give you all the information.
Okay. Letter May 30th, 2008.
Motion to disapprove unless sound installation meets the standards on the letter or something like that?
Yeah, dated May 30th, 2018 by Brent M. Porter Architect.
They did a copy so you can include the,
So let's call the question.
Give me 1 second to write that up. In the letter, you'll show me the letter later and I'll just put it.
Martha showed me that. Full application.
Okay, so everybody understand what we're voting on?
Yeah. All right.
Calling the question, all those in favor of that resolution, disapprove unless? 1, 2.
Okay, that works for you. Thank you.
Roberta, were you a yes?
Yeah.
32. I have 32, I think it's everybody, but hands down. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Anybody ineligible? 32 to 0 to 0 to 0.
Okay, thank you. Number 10 is our 2 unenclosed sidewalk cafe renewals, one for Land Thai and one for 94 Corner Cafe. You all know these places well. This is a couple of times that they've been to our committee, and we voted to approve these cafes, unenclosed cafes. Any questions? Okay, so all those in favor of the renewal?
Okay.
This is 10.
Got 32, Roberta is 33, and that's everybody, 33 to 0 to 0.
Thank you. Now, number 11 is also a renewal, but we're asking you to approve it because we disapproved it because they didn't show us their proof of postings. But they came here today, well, actually, we got the proof a couple of days ago. So we're asking you to approve this renewal application for Edgar's Cafe. They provided us proof of postings, and we also got a letter of support. Somebody goes here twice a week.
So all those in favor?
All those in favor of renewal for Edgar's Cafe?
Thirty-three, 0, 0, 0.
Okay, now we have the number 12 enclosed cafes that we both. Okay. The first one is in 200 West 60th Street, Olympic Flame Diner, not far from here. They actually are tearing down the enclosed cafe, but they have to renew it until the point they start tearing it down. So the restaurant said, let's renew it. The owner of the building said, we want to tear it down. So I don't know what that means, but for the building, but he wants to operate the cafe until they tear down the cafe and maybe the building. So we approved that. And the second one was Cafe Frida. You know, they've been there for a long time. They're next to that hamburger place. Shake Shack, yeah, can never go there, too many calories. So we approve them. Anybody have any question about either application? Yes?
Can you reiterate, maybe it's because I'm just getting.
Yeah, I might not have said it right.
No, so the building that Olympic Flame is in might be torn down.
They didn't say, but he just said the cafe is gonna be taken down.
Not the building.
We don't know. He just said a cafe, so.
He wants to tear down a cafe, the sidewalk cafe.
Yeah, that's all we know. I'm just kind of speculating.
You know, there are those spots on one of them because of light enclosed ones. So the question is, if it goes away, do we say, oh, I don't know.
We say it's gone.
And then they come back and we start all over again, and if we don't want it back, we can vote no.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
All right.
It's our first couple.
That's sort of what's been happening to every enclosed cafe in the neighborhood. Slowly but surely. So we're asking you to approve both of these separate, but the same kind of applications. All those in favor?
Twenty-nine plus Roberta is 30. Hands down, all those opposed? 1, 2. Only 2? Okay, 2. And anybody abstaining? Nope. And anybody ineligible? So the resolution carries 32 to 2 to 0 to 0.
Number 13 is a modification of an outdoor cafe for Marlowe Bistro on 110 in Amsterdam. The owner essentially wants to add another row of tables up against the wall of the restaurant. They're not changing the footprint. And they're adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 tables. 5 tables against the wall that are not there now. Question?
Yeah, 30 tables and 58 seats seems like an awful lot.
They have a wraparound because they're on Amsterdam, and that's that place with that little spit of a park on Amsterdam at 110. So they have the cafe on Amsterdam, it wraps around to 110. We permitted that because 110 is a wide street.
And is enough space on the sidewalk?
Yeah, I brought the design. Want to look at it? No problem.
And they built like the road and hiking lane, nice, don't like a mini little park, yeah, not.
It looks really nice. More than 9
We have one person.
When are you gonna learn to count?
We have one person here who wants to speak. You could say something? Oh. You do, oh, yeah, that's right.
On the resolution sheet that was sent out, it says that it's being approved with the following conditions. This is wrong. Those following conditions do not apply to this item. They apply to the 108 West 74th Street.
You know what, they have the same attorney, so that's not coming back. But thank you. So we have Miss Susan Melvin.
Yes.
Step up to the plate.
Scary.
It's
I live above this on 110th Street and the building is on the corner. It says 1018 Amsterdam. It's also 502 110th Street. So I'm in 504. And as you notice, so that has this outdoor eating area, and next door is this 1012 Amsterdam, and they want an outdoor eating area. And across the street is a bar where the kids are hanging out, and next to 1012 is a bar, and down the block is a bar. The whole place there's no quiet ever again in that neighborhood. And there's a rooftop deck where people are carrying on parties, and I've lived there since 1980, and it's a nightmare. So I think that, I don't know how anybody gets to object to all this noise. There's just constant noise. I don't know what to say about it. Seems like. There's nothing,
Well, we
I
always
have no,
ask-
I have no voice about it.
Well, you do, we always ask an applicant if there's been
Clary, you have a question, Clary?
Oh, I just wondered if there had been a lot of sympathy for this woman, but I'm trying to relate it to our review of this specific application of the restaurant table. So I'm wondering if we have a history of any complaints about this specific restaurant.
Yeah, we always ask, and she said no. We run a pretty good operation, she's got cheap.
Oh, but, so they've added exhaust fans between the two restaurants, I don't know which one did. So the exhaust fans are going on until after midnight, which are very noisy. And then the workers from the restaurants get out at 2 or 3 in the morning, and they're screaming on the streets. So it's like constant.
Yeah,
We can ask them too.
we'll talk to them, because they own other restaurants in the neighborhood. And they're not, that they want to stay in the neighborhood.
How are they gonna like fix that? I mean.
They actually,
Well, improve the mechanics.
they're very open to do. They
Yeah.
use it for Chico y Vino for the neighbors.
Actually, that's right.
And a lot of the two restaurants next to each other, and then there's a different restaurant in between that hasn't opened yet. So, three restaurants. What time do they open till?
I don't know, let me see. Oh, wait, I have something here.
How late the sidewalk is about to be open, yes? In the past, we've asked for that restriction, and they close the sidewalk for the rest of the restaurant.
Well, remember, she's been operating this restaurant for a couple of years now. Okay, yeah, this is an addition of a couple of tables to the cafe that already exists there. So they've been in operation for a little while.
They have a noise complaint now. Yeah,
No, they have no noise complaints now. But we have a, okay. You call them? We gotta have a better mechanism of doing this, other than, yeah, you have to come to these community board committee meetings.
I've never been to one before because I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, okay, good. Well,
We're gonna look at
yeah, well, our next, committee meeting for business and consumer issues is Wednesday, so come to the meeting.
I think Mark has a comment and then we're gonna.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mark, you have a comment, then
So,
we're gonna vote.
if I just hold it as a back and forth, are you going to, for the minutes, are you going to write to the operator and ask them to pay more attention, or was there a resolution to that?
Yes, we might even just go there and tell them, because she's a medical.
No, I think we need.
Yeah, and if I can just offer that I was living in that neighborhood in the 1970s, when this establishment was a liquor store where everything was behind plexiglass, and you had, it like a bank where you had to put the money into a slot. So the activity on the street may be noisy, but it's safe. And so I think that that's something to commend the growth of the neighborhood.
Was that the 1970s?
Thank you, yes. Me and US Grant were,
What we're gonna do is write a letter to the.
Thank you. To be my.
Asking them to see if they can, just leave that plan and also to police.
Great, thank you. So I'm asking you to vote for an approval of number 13, 1018 Amsterdam Avenue at 110. This is a modification, adding a couple of tables. All those in favor?
I'm sorry, starting again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. I have 28. Hands down, all those opposed? 1, 2. 2, and that's actually now 28 becomes 27 because I misread. So 28, 27 to 2. Hands down, anybody abstaining? 1. And anybody ineligible to vote? So the resolution carries 28 to 2 to 1 to 0.
Thank you. Number 14, new unenclosed sidewalk cafes. I lost that. Yeah, it's 98 in Amsterdam and 1012 Amsterdam.
between 109 and 110. Infamous Chicken, the second one happens to be the owner of Marlowe and Chico Vivino. And she's opening a new place to where the laundromat used to be on that strip on Amsterdam. So we approve both of these applications. Anybody have any questions? One with 7 tables, 22 seats, one with 11 and 22. No questions? All those in favor of the new cafes? 774 Amsterdam and 1012 Amsterdam. Thank you.
I have 32. I think that's everybody, but let's try. Anybody opposed? Any opposed? 1. Anybody abstaining? And 4 ineligible vote. Resolution carries 32 to 1 to 0 to 0.
Thank you. Now we have as number 15, 247 Columbus, Joe and the Juice. They didn't show up, so we disapproved their application. I think they're back on the calendar for our next meeting. So we're asking, we have to vote on this. So all those in favor or disapproval? No, this is without prejudice. I already told you about the next week's meeting. Is it next week? Yeah.
Mario, you with or against? 32. Okay, 32, hands down. Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? No. Anybody abstaining or ineligible? 32 to 0 to 0 to 0.
Thank you. And the last item, number 16, is 343 Amsterdam Avenue, Joe and the Juice. Same operation. This is the IKEA coffee. They're from whatever country that is. Anyway, we listened to their application at our pre-meeting because they're kind of running out of town with the Department of Consumer Affairs. Thanks to Jesse in the office for noticing that. We approved their application.
So this is 16 reads disapprove, but now it's approved.
We would like you to approve the application. Yes.
They didn't show up at the last meeting, which was why we disapproved.
You got it.
They came to the pre-meeting.
Those are correct. Okay, all those in favor? I'm gonna go this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 33.
Thank you.
Hang on, I think that's everybody, but anybody opposed?
All right, before everybody leaves,
Anybody with an eligible vote?
I just want to remind everybody that Saturday, June 9th, this coming Saturday, from 11 to 5, we will be at between 106 and 110th Street on Columbus. If you have not signed up to participate, please, we're going to have a table, so please see me so we can.
All that.